After their first finals appearance in 25 years, the Pacers are coming into this season with a different set of expectations. They lost their best player to injury, but mostly kept a championship caliber core in place while still having loads of young talent. So things are really interesting in Indiana. Are they good enough to compete in the East though? And what can we make of their future? The Pacers were probably the best story of the 2025 season. While they weren't quite the historically efficient offense that they were in 2024, they improved enough defensively to still win 50 games and secure home court advantage in the first round, where they faced off against the Bucks, who they sent home in 5. Then they went up against the 64-win Cavs, who they also sent home in 5. Then it was the Knicks in the conference finals, who they beat in 6. For the first time in 25 years, they made the finals, and they pushed OKC to the brink of elimination, forcing a Game 7, only to lose in the most heartbreaking way possible. Are things different if Halliburton never tears his Achilles? There's no way of knowing, but throughout the run, they still proved to be a championship caliber team on both ends of the floor. It all started with the pace on offense. Halliburton was the engine that made everything run, playing fast, making the right decisions, and basically never turning the ball over. Then they had tons of athletes, capable ball handlers, and versatile scorers running alongside him to just always apply pressure early in the clock. In the half court, they had multiple go-to actions, whether that was a Halliburton pick and roll, a Siakam post-up, or a perimeter isolation against a mismatch. Between a surplus of playmaking and shooting talent, as well as a creative offensive scheme, they basically mastered pace and space. We already knew this though. It was the defensive gear they hit in the playoffs that I'm not sure anyone was ready for. With either Nembhard or Nesmith picking up the ball 94 feet away from the basket, it was a chore to even bring it up the court. But because of how deep their rotation was, they also just had more energy than other teams, flat out draining offenses with their activity. The combination of everything, from the pace and space to the depth to the coaching and personnel on both sides of the ball, had them one win away from a ring. All that's to say they're going into this season without a big piece of their identity. Like I said, Tyrese Halliburton was the engine that made everything run. He always sped up the game, made all of the right kick-aheads, and organized the offense. Most importantly though, he's just an all-time great passer and decision maker, and that's an impossible presence to replace. They still have guys who can play in the open floor like Mathurin, Siakam, Nesmith, or Toppin, and they still have guys who can speed up the game like Nembhard and McConnell. So they should still be a decent transition offense, it's just different from the best, and we'll definitely see some regression. In the half court, Halliburton played a key role as a primary ball handler. Most of their offense started with him in ball screen action, and that started with his own scoring threat. Because he could drive or hit the pull-up 3 with volume, defenses had to react. So they'd use ball screens to create advantages early in the clock and then move the ball until they found an opening to exploit, which again was a testament to his decision making. So now the question moving forward is where they're gonna get that shot creation. Before we get into that, I want to give a huge shout out to Factor for sponsoring this video because this 31-day series wouldn't be possible without them. Between the time it takes to research each team and produce these videos while balancing my personal life, I just don't have time to cook for myself. With Factor, in just a matter of 2 minutes, I can get a fully prepared meal on the table without worrying about preparation, cooking, or cleaning up. Just simply unbox, heat it up, and enjoy. The meals are fresh, never frozen, and there's a ton of variety. Recently, they've doubled the size of their menu to 80+ rotating weekly meals. So whether you're craving a steak, a chicken breast, a Calorie Smart, or vegan option, Factor's got you covered. For me personally, it's bulk season, so I've been loving their Protein Plus options. And eating clean has never been easier for me since signing up for Factor, which is why I'm super excited to bring you guys a special offer. Head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code HoopVenueFB50 to get 50% off plus free breakfast for a year. You heard that right, that's code HoopVenueFB50 at Factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for a year. The Pacers still have Pascal Siakam, who's turned into an awesome isolation scorer. He's also a good passer, so they could put the ball in his hands more to initiate, similar to the role he played in Toronto. But I think Rick Carlisle loves the role he's carved out for Pascal, using him as a sort of jack of all trades that can fit any role on any possession. That could mean handling the ball, it could mean screening, it could mean spotting up or playing from the mid-post. Point being, I don't expect them to change his usage much with Halliburton out, so it'll be other guys who garner more touches. Most are looking to Andrew Nembhard because he'll be starting at the 1. In the last 2 playoff runs, we've gotten these flashes of randomly elite outside shooting, as well as legitimate on-ball creation with the use of contact, pace, and deceleration to get to his spots in the short mid-range. However, Nembhard seriously lacks in the interior scoring department. While he has the touch to score in the paint, he basically never gets to the rim or the free throw line, which puts a ceiling on how much pressure he can actually generate. I think that's a function of athletic limitations. He's not explosive, not very fast, doesn't have elite change of direction, and isn't necessarily big or lengthy. These issues are only exasperated by the fact that his three-point shooting is one giant question mark. Like I said, he's been elite in the playoffs, but we have a way bigger sample over the past 3 regular seasons that suggest he's a well below average shooter, making 33% of his wide open threes, 36% off the catch, and less than 27% off the dribble. As a creator, he's pretty much subject to the mid-range, and he's a very good mid-range scorer who's also a good enough passer and decision maker to pick up some of that playmaking load. They're gonna need more rim pressure coming from the perimeter though, and that's where Bennedict Mathurin comes in. Mathurin's on a short list of guys I'm watching closely as a potential breakout candidate. His interior scoring indicators are the inverse of Nembhard, a lower percentage at the rim but way more volume and way more free throws. Which, by the way, got even better in the playoffs where he not only scored well at the rim, he had the 4th highest free throw rate of any player. Playoff defenses simply didn't have an answer for his slashing, not even OKC at times. It's a legitimate superpower, and with the ball in his hands a lot more, he could easily be a 20-point per game scorer. How much else is there though? Right now, he's a very limited passer and decision maker, which to me is the big swing skill for him, because the only way to justify giving him touches is if he's going to optimize the entire offense and not only his individual scoring. Also, we've seen some flashes of a decent mid-range game, which would take his scoring to another level, but much like Nembhard, he hasn't proven to be a volume 3-point threat. The 3-point shooting feels like a big weakness, especially in the backcourt. Halliburton's one of the best shooters on the planet, ranking in at least the 80th percentile in wide open, catch and shoot, and off the dribble shooting efficiency while attempting 7.5 threes a game. Across the board, there really hasn't been a replacement for that. Nesmith's an elite shooter, but outside of that, we're talking high volume on low efficiency or low volume on low efficiency, and they just haven't dotted the perimeter with scoring threats. This is where second-year wing Johnny Furphy could make a big difference. He's a 6'9" off-ball scoring weapon who's shown at multiple levels that he can knock down threes with volume. Then he pairs that size and shooting ability with great athleticism and touch around the basket, as well as a high motor and feel for cutting, crashing the offensive glass, or just filling out space in general. We'll have to see if other things swing in the right direction for him, like his strength, handle, decision making, and ability to play a role on defense. The reason the spacing is so important right now is because in addition to losing Halliburton, they also lost Miles Turner, who's simply one of the best 3-point shooting bigs we've ever seen. Well, they replaced him with Jay Huff, who might just be cut from that same cloth. Huff's only barely scratched the surface of being a rotation player, but in the 4 seasons he's seen time, he's made over 40% of his threes. And when he's on the court, he's letting them fly, attempting about 9 of them every 36 minutes. If Huff steps in and is an even better shooter than Turner, that changes a lot. Because although he hasn't shown to be nearly as versatile when it comes to handling the ball, playing from the post, or utilizing the mid-range, he can get above the rim as a lob threat, giving him a little bit of flexibility. The rest of their front court is filled with mostly reliable shooters. Obi Toppin's gonna hit the open 3, Siakam took a big shooting leap last season and established himself as a legitimate floor spacer. Jarris Walker's another prove-it guy with small volume, but he's been efficient so far. So while they have some offensive weaknesses, they shouldn't be outright bad. Even though they lost Halliburton, they still have a couple guys who you're comfortable with handling the ball and making decisions. They've got a couple isolation scorers, they've got some shooters, they've got some athletic finishers. They are lacking offensive depth, and I do think they'll need a big leap from one of the younger guys to really produce an above-average offense, but they're far from completely collapsing. As for the defensive side of things, well, that's really interesting. Nembhard and Nesmith are 2 of the better on-ball defenders in the NBA. Mathurin's also a very capable on-ball defender. Off the bench, TJ McConnell can hound opposing guards, Ben Shepherd, Jarris Walker, Pascal Siakam. I mean, across the board, this team is absolutely loaded with guys who can limit dribble penetration while basically not having a single weak link. Jay Huff is someone who generally struggles to defend the primary action. He's not great in any pick and roll coverage, can't really switch, but what he can do is block a lot of shots. And on a team that should be able to protect him at all times, he'll be able to operate in his element. The same goes for Isaiah Jackson, who's simply one of the best shot blockers on the planet if he's healthy. All that's to say, the team doesn't really have holes to poke defensively. They lack the truly elite anchor or versatility to be one of the best in the league, but they should be good. Just look at the rotation. Johnny Furphy and Obi Toppin are really the only guys who offenses should want to attack. But even then, both are big, athletic, and will be surrounded by great on-ball defenders. Then there's so much lineup flexibility. They can go with Siakam at the 5 for spacing and switchability. They can run Nembhard and TJ together for high-end playmaking. They could even go with Huff and Ijax together for 2 huge shot blockers. That lineup versatility is their biggest superpower. But unless someone takes a big leap, they do lack both perimeter shot creation and shot making, and I think they'll struggle to rebound. When you strip away Halliburton's skill set as well as Turner's versatility, I think the result is a slightly below average offense. With a good defense, that could still be enough to go 500 and make the playoffs in the East, although I think they might prioritize player development and experimentation over winning. Halliburton's going to be back in a year, and this season could be a transitional period in figuring out exactly where the roster stands. What if Johnny Furphy's the missing piece? What if Ben Mathurin can be an efficient 20-point per game scorer? What if Nembhard has another gear? What if Jay Huff proves to be one of the best shooting 5s on the planet? I'd expect them to use this season as one big science experiment. Find out what works and what doesn't, sharpen up the edges in the offseason, and get back to championship contention with Halliburton in 2027.